What's good, Steeler Nation? My name is Jack Sperry, and this is Steelers Talk. Today, we are going to be going over trade targets for the 2023 NFL Draft. It looks like the Steelers are going to be gearing up for a rebuild, and we are going to preview the early trade targets from Pro Football Focus and who they think who could be a first rounder. We're going to be going over a bunch of names today, but before we get into all the action today, like this video if you think Omar Khan, the Steelers GM, will kill the NFL Draft in 2023. I am very juiced. Obviously, we have a lot of draft capital. Well, we have quite a bit in the early rounds, I should say. We have one in the first round, two in the second round thanks to the Chase Claypool trade, one in round 3, one in round 4, and then 2 in round 7 for a total of 7 picks. So we're going to be talking about day 1 and day 2 today, but let's just jump right into the guys that are going to be right at the top of the draft. In the first round, right now the Steelers are projected to be the 4th overall pick, and for me, I would be looking really deeply into left tackle. Dan Moore Jr., guys, let's face it, he's not it. We need an anchor on that left side to protect the blind side of whoever the quarterback is going to be in the future. Hopefully it's Kenny Pickett. And my guy is really Peter Skoronski. So all these rankings here, number 7 on PFF's big board. So if you see number 7, number 18, number 25, that means that's their number on the PFF, Pro Football Focus big board right now. Skoronski is having the best season pass blocking grade-wise in Pro Football Focus history. He is a beast for Northwestern, and he would probably be my pick for who I would take if I were the Steelers at number 4 overall right now. And then you got Paris Johnson Jr., who's the number 18th player on the list from Ohio State. He's definitely a big dude, good pass blocker, good run blocker as well, very solid player. And the same thing with Broderick Jones. These guys are really the 3 guys that people are the consensus left tackles at the next level. They got the size, they have the length, they have the athleticism, they can both run block and pass block. So these are kind of the guys that you'd be looking at if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers and you want to get a left tackle. Right now, I'd probably take left tackle in round 1. That's probably my pick. That's why I'm showing them first today. Left tackle, this offensive line, you just need to get it right. You need to get it right for whoever's going to be at quarterback for the future. This offensive line is not cutting it right now, and left tackle is really a position that you need to address in the first round. Some of the other needs the Steelers have, I think, can be addressed later on in the draft. But if we don't go left tackle, we could go cornerback. Say William Jackson III is a complete dud. You know, he just sucks. He's not good. We cut him. We need to draft a new corner. These are the guys that would be at the top of the first round there. Cam Smith with South Carolina, they're completely avoiding him this year. Offenses are avoiding him. He's so dang good. Okay, so he's going to be probably that number 1 guy in the draft this year. I'm really excited about Cam Smith. He would be a fantastic addition for this team as that number 1 corner. Keely Ringo from Georgia, very big, very rangy. I mean, he's a very good player as well. He's part of Georgia's defense, for God's sakes. That defense is bloody fantastic. Then Brian Branch, he's more of a nickel corner for Alabama, but he's one of the best nickel cornerbacks that have come out of the draft in a long time. He's about as sure thing as you're going to get at nickel corner, but nickel corner is not as valuable as outside corner, so I don't know if I would take him in the first round. And then Jalen Jones from Texas A&M, he's been a bit of a riser this year, very talented player, and he's been doing really well for the Aggies this season. Then if you don't want to get cornerback, you could also go defensive interior. Larry Ogunjobi and Chris Wormley are both free agents this offseason. If they decide not to re-sign them, you need that second defensive tackle in that 3-4 scheme next to Cam Hayward. And the 2 guys it's not a great defensive tackle class, guys. There's 2 guys really at the top of the class, and that's Jalen Carter and Brian Breesy. Jalen Carter, we covered him the other day when Bleacher Report came out with their mock draft. They had the Steelers taking Jalen Carter 4th overall, and he's a physical freak. I wouldn't mind picking him up whatsoever. I mean, I would probably go with some other positions. I'd probably value those positions more. But if the Steelers decide to go defensive tackle and really make this one of the best defensive lines in football by adding Carter, I wouldn't mind either. And then Breesy's also a very great talent as well. And then I want to preface this, guys. I don't want this to happen here. I don't want Kenny Pickett to be replaced next season. I don't. I really am rooting for him. I think the Steelers should give him every opportunity to succeed this year. But at the end of the day, if you're in the top 4 and Kenny Pickett is still not showing any growth at 24 years old coming into the league as a supposedly pro-ready quarterback, if he's not showing it, if we don't take a quarterback, then it could be like the Cardinals keeping Josh Rosen and passing on Kyler Murray. That's what it could be in Pittsburgh if we decide to not move off of him. But I'm still going to give Kenny every opportunity to prove that he should be the quarterback next season. I think Kenny's going to be fine in the second half, guys. That's actually my prediction. I think the Steelers are going to win 4 or 5 games, maybe 6 games in the second half of the season. Kenny's going to look a lot better. And I think by next season, he's going to be our guy in Pittsburgh. But if that doesn't happen, if the Steelers just completely ramshot the rest of the season, they maybe win 1 or 2 more games and Kenny just looks terrible. Like, you got to look at these top guys in the draft. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Hendon Hooker, and Will Levis. These guys look like that they could be really, really special players at the next level. All of them have high-end physical traits that Kenny Pickett just simply doesn't have. And these guys could be potential superstars. And if Kenny just isn't cutting it, you just never know when you're going to have another opportunity to get a guy this talented like these 4 gentlemen on the screen here. But I am rooting for Kenny, guys. I don't want it to seem like I'm a Kenny Pickett hater. I'm rooting for him. He's a great kid. He's obviously the guy in Pittsburgh. People in Pittsburgh, man, they love Kenny Pickett, and I love it because he's the homegrown kid. He went to Pitt. You guys watched him, become a college star, and now he's the quarterback of your Pittsburgh Steelers. I want him to succeed just as much as you do, but if not, you got to go get a quarterback, in my opinion, if he doesn't live up to the expectations. Now, would you trade down in the first round to get more draft capital? So say the Steelers are 4th overall like they are now. Would you trade down to get more draft capital in the future? Let me know in the comments what your strategy would be with this certain topic. Now let's get into the day 2 draft targets, and there's some definitely interesting names here to go over. I'm very excited here. Let's look at corners. So let's say we take a left tackle in the first round. There's a lot of really good corners in this draft. It's a great cornerback draft class. So if we don't take a corner in the first round and William Jackson III just isn't it, I don't mind whatsoever going and getting a Christian Gonzalez from Oregon or a Joey Porter Jr., another Pennsylvania guy there in the second round. He's very long and physical, very much a Steelers type of player, Joey Porter Jr. is. Then Clark Phillips III, another good player, and then Garrett Wilson from Syracuse is another guy that's got the physical skill set to be a potential number 1 corner in the National Football League. So when I look at the cornerbacks, I'm looking at probably 8 or 9 corners going in the first 2 rounds. And for me, I'd probably wait to go get the corner in the second round if the Steelers need a corner. I would address left tackle in the first round if, of course, we're not drafting quarterback, which I really hope doesn't happen, but if it does, it happens. But at the end of the day, you can get a corner in the second round. I'm very excited about that. But if we don't get a corner, let's look at some other positions here. Inside linebacker, it's not a great linebacker class, guys. It just isn't. These are the 2 top guys. These are the only 2 guys in the top 50 on Pro Football Focus's big board right now. Trenton Simpson is a guy that might fall back into the second round just because linebacker's not a huge impact position. And then Drew Sanders from Arkansas. I have a feeling that because there's not a whole lot of blue chip linebacker prospects, that a team that really needs a really good linebacker on their team is probably going to take Simpson in the first round. But he's definitely flirting there at number 28 with being a second round pick. So that's why I included him on this list. And for me, I think the Steelers could definitely add an inside linebacker next year. Miles Jack is fine. You guys know I'm not the biggest Devin Bush guy out there, so I think it would be great to pick up somebody. But it looks like next offseason it might be free agency that the Steelers might be looking to get that inside linebacker replacement. Then there's defensive tackles. If we don't get Jalen Carter or Breesy in the first round, then you could look at Siaki Ika, who I actually think is going to be a first-round pick, guys. He's an athletic freak. He's massive. He can be a nose tackle. So not only could he play the 3 technique in nickel packages for the Steelers, but he could also play nose tackle when we're in our base formation in that 3-4 defense that Mike Tomlin runs here in Pittsburgh. So I think he would be a fantastic Pittsburgh Steeler. And then Calijah Cancey from Pitt, another local guy, very athletic dude, very productive. Another guy that could fit this defense like a glove. I don't think he's as big as Ika is, and he's probably not going to be a nose tackle in the league, but he's very athletic. He's going to be very productive in the league. But Like linebackers, guys, defensive tackle is not this class's strong suit. And at the end of the day, I'm not sure if either of these guys are going to be there at the end of the day, because defensive interior is becoming a more and more important position to teams. They're trying to load up that defensive line, and there's just not a whole lot of great talents at defensive tackle in this year's draft class, at least so far. Then at offensive tackle, say you don't get a left tackle in the first round, there's some other players here that are pretty decent. You're at Anton Harrison from Oklahoma. He's probably, he's a little bit limited physically, but, he could definitely be a solid right tackle, but left tackle maybe a little bit remains to be seen there. And Alu Fashanu from Penn State, another Pennsylvania dude. So he's another guy that could come in. The fans know his name, or at least a lot of fans know his name, and he's just a familiar face in the state of Pennsylvania, and he's ranked pretty darn high. He's pretty darn good, so I wouldn't mind bringing him in at all. But left tackle prospects are usually the ones that get taken in round one. That's why you see so many offensive tackles taken in round one, because the teams that are taking them think that those players are left tackles, and left tackle is one of the most important positions in the National Football League. But I guess we'll see. I think Alu and Anton have a really good chance of being left tackles in their own right, and they could very well be first rounders at the end of the day. All right, guys, give me a player that you would pick in the first and second round. So not just one. Give me a player that you would pick in the first round, then give me a player that you would pick in the second round. And don't forget, guys, we have a poll, a community poll up on the channel right now. If the season ended today and the Steelers had the 4th overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, would you consider drafting another QB and trading Kenny Pickett for an additional draft pick? And for me, my answer, this might surprise some people, my answer to this question is actually no right now. I don't think that there's been a large enough sample size to make this decision for definite yes right now. But I think by the end of the season, if Pickett still isn't cutting it, and he's had that many games to prove that he can make a little bit of growth and he still hasn't done it, then my answer might change. But I'm really hoping that Pickett can turn things around, that he can have better footwork, throw the ball more accurately down the field, get through his progressions, get a bit more comfortable with NFL-level pressure. I'm really hoping that these things happen in the second half of the year. So I'm going to answer no to this question now, but it could definitely shift to a yes if Pickett doesn't live up to the hype here. All right, guys. That's going to be it for today's show. If you guys want a shout-out on a Steelers Talk episode next week, consider following me on Twitter at Jack_Sperry. That's where I put all my Kenny Pickett film analysis. So if you want to learn more about football, if you want to learn more about Kenny Pickett and the Steelers offense, go follow me on Twitter. I put that stuff up there all the time. Plus, I put a bunch of other Steelers stuff on there, news, rumors, all that other stuff. So if you want additional Steelers content, go follow me on Twitter at Jack_Sperry.